Y'all know what we here for, man. Episode 3 of Hard Knocks dropped last night. And, your boy got a reaction to it. I know you guys got a reaction to it too. So let's talk about it. Let me know down in the comments your favorite part of this episode. Let me know your favorite episode so far. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. Episode 3, I don't know, it felt like a lot left to be desired, but I think it's mainly because we knew what the outcome was and we knew what they were honing in on, which is the Saquon issue, which we were already fed up with. We were done with the whole Saquon scenario. As you know, they teased it saying that Joe Shane potentially offered a deal and saying that if we offer this deal, Saquon's going to be a Giant. But I think they were really like keying in with the subtitles, trying to make it seem like we were thinking Joe offered that deal, but instead it was actually the agent, pitching it, saying, "Hey, if you might get this done, the deal might get done. If you offer that, the deal might get done." And Joe Shane never got the opportunity to do so because the Eagles swooped in. And according to Joe Shane, he got a text saying that the Eagles were out, but the Eagles were definitely in, and they drove up that price a bit, and it was more than what the Giants wanted. And as we know, we love Saquon Barkley. A lot of us loved him, wanted to keep him. Some people didn't want to pay him. Some people felt like he was overrated. Nevertheless, he got paid his money from the Eagles, the money that he wanted, and instead of signing with the Giants, he signed with them. And some people aren't the biggest fans of it, but here we are, and Joe Shane never wanted to put his money towards that. But the one thing I will say from this episode that you can look at, and he had brief little stints in the episode, John Mara. Now, with previous regimes, with Dave Gettleman and prior, John Mara definitely had a lot more hands onto the team than people thought. John Mara is one of the owners of the New York Giants, and he's definitely more, in tune with what's happening with the team, but also trying to leave his fingerprints on it. And as much as, Joe Shane right now has full reins on what the Giants are going to do and what direction they're trying to head in, John Mara said, hey, Joe Shane's going to come in, he's going to do his thing, I'm going to try to stay out of it. John Mara's still in the picture, and he's still offering his takes on it. He even said in this episode, Saquon Barkley is our most popular player. He never, and rightfully so, he is. Saquon Barkley was the most popular player on the team. But Saquon Barkley being the most popular doesn't result in wins. It hasn't resulted in wins the last 6 years, and it hasn't yet to date for us in general. Odell Beckham was one of the most popular players on our team, and we never won games with Odell Beckham either. So for him to look at it, mainly thinking about ticket sales, thinking about people attending games, buying chicken tenders, all this stuff from a Yankees fan. Talk about chicken tender cup is pretty known for us. But when it comes to John Mara, speaking of how popular this player is, and we're gonna lose him, stop thinking about the popularity. Think about the lackluster of a team we've been. We've been one of the worst teams in the NFL these past couple years. Think about that. Think about the direction we need to head in. Think about how we can get better. And yes, losing Saquon Barkley to a lot of people doesn't scream the Giants getting better, but it might be a better direction for this team and what we're heading in. Paying a running back instead of paying other players, we might need to stick to running back by committee or other ways to win. We had Saquon Barkley for 6 years. We messed it up. It is what it is. It's time to head in a new direction and try to get things done. So for John Mara to step in, and he's still, once again, you see him making faces, you see him being upset, and he said, like, if he goes to the Eagles, our NFC East rival, I don't know how I'm going to be able to sleep. All these different things. Once again, this is our owner speaking on it, and I can just tell if it wasn't Joe Shane, Dave Gettleman would have signed him back. Other people would have signed him back. And once again, will he be the player that he's going to be on the Eagles for the Giants? Probably not. He'll probably play better in Philly. He will. Better offensive line, better situation. And honestly, once again, we didn't win with him, so why are we still focused on, trying to get more popular players and trying to have more popularity overall? I'm over that, man. So that's the one big takeaway I take from this when it comes to John Mara. Now, other key things that we featured were, the whole putting chips in, trying to get players, John Runyon Jr., you saw that the Jets were apparently interested in him, having that connection with Aaron Rodgers. You see when it came to Luminor, a couple other free agent additions, guys like Devin Singletary, even Tyrod Taylor, going to the Jets for a higher price point than the Giants wanted. I didn't think they were necessarily interested in bringing Tyrod back, but I'm not surprised they were, and they opted to go Drew Lock. And that little tidbit, when Drew Lock first came in, and he's like, hey, what slogans do you have? And he wasn't shown on screen, but he says, yeah, go ahead and say F the Eagles. Love to see that. I'm here for it. I love to see that. And I'm surprised that they didn't even bleep it out or cut it out or anything. They just left it. So you already know, great start for his Giants tenure for my guy Drew Lock. Now, when it goes to other positions that got taken care of, as we know, something that they've been building up to all the way to episode 3 was that Brian Burns trade. And just seeing how the team, the GM from the Panthers called Joe Shane and was talking about adding on a 7th rounder. And he's like, why are you going to add a 7th rounder, man? We don't need to do that. Like, just give it to me for the price that we talked about. And it ended up being a 2nd and a 5th. Once again, I love it. Brian Burns had to get paid. We paid Brian Burns. If anything, it just made me more hyped thinking about where Brian Burns could be on this defensive line. Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, that should help the back end. You saw Brandon Brown talking about it. And once again, man, I think one of the biggest W's from this whole, Hard Knocks so far, Brandon Brown's going to get a job. He is going to get a job somewhere. And hopefully he remains with the Giants. I don't see it. He's going to be a GM somewhere else, man. I definitely love to see, the airtime that he gets and everything he speaks on, man. He's not afraid to speak on it, whether Joe believes it or not. And once again, that's a guy I feel like I can trust. And granted, we're just seeing so much stuff from Hard Knocks, but that's a guy I seem like I can trust, man, overall. Other things I already touched on, other free agent signings, as you know, were more of the depth signings that they kind of mentioned here and there. Losing Xavier McKinney barely got touched on. And now he barely got any exposure this whole time in terms of even talking about what the dollar amount would be for Xavier McKinney, possibly any people to fill in for Xavier McKinney. It wasn't really touched on at all. Now, I feel like maybe, it was not as much, featured on. Maybe they really weren't focused on bringing Xavier McKinney back. Or maybe just the negotiations, it never really truly worked out to the point where they can even air any of it. I don't really know. It's all speculation. We'll see what ends up happening with overall with it. But just to think about the fact that Xavier McKinney went away for the price that he did, and the Giants never really even seemed to offer anything, at least on air. It's a little interesting, man. It's a little interesting. Now, what we're here for and what we're really here for next week, obviously, the NFL draft is coming up in terms with the Hard Knocks. We know they selected Malik Neighbors, but that little snippet, that little tidbit with Brian Dable talking about trading up for guys like Jaden Daniels, I'm excited to see, overall how they went about that process. Because once again, we spoke on it before Hard Knocks dropped. We talked about the possibility of them showing even the Giants being interested in the quarterback. Some people didn't believe it. Some people felt like they're trying to keep it close-knit. Hard Knocks is dropping it all. HBO recorded it all, as we know, but the Giants said, yeah, let's put it out there. Plan A was to go get a QB. Plan B was to get a weapon for Daniel Jones. And for them to air that on this, preview with Hard Knocks and for them to, make it known, Daniel Jones, one, has to strap up. He got to know, hey, you were this close to being, not the starting quarterback for this team. What are you going to do about it? Daniel, you've been put in these scenarios so often so far. What are you going to do about it, DJ? What are you going to do about it? And we'll see what happens. But overall, once again, just seeing them being open to it, we knew it on the low, and some fans weren't for it, and some fans refused to believe it because we didn't see anything. You're going to see. And a lot of people are going to be upset. But I want you guys to let me know down below, man, how you felt about the episode overall and what you think about possibly trading up for Jaden Daniels. Obviously, it's a done deal. He's not going to be in New York. He's actually going to be in the division. But the Giants even entertaining it just shows that they were very eager to get another QB in this room. They were. No one else can say anything about it, man. I want you guys to let me know down below in the comments, man. Stay tuned for my next preview drop-in. Wide receivers. Y'all up next, man. I'll drop a video soon. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay blessed. Peace.